was an official cuckoo case. I was born like that. I was very confused in life. And I feel that the applied principles of Ayurveda psychology, while teaching them, have slowly become part of me and my internal mental subtle structure. And I can proudly declare on camera that I have a sanity that I can now depend on for a couple more lifetimes. I feel good. You get that? I feel good. I don't know about anything else. I don't know who to depend on. But there is one thing I can depend on, is the undependable mind. But my mind has become my dependable friend. So something that I want to tell you in Ayurveda is that Ayurveda does not believe in dissolving the mind, removing the mind, blocking the mind, killing the mind, necessarily even having to transcend the mind, which Ayurveda leaves and points to sciences like yoga and Vedanta. Our goal here is not necessarily self-realization when we talk about mental health, though mental health is intrinsically interwoven with the realization of the self. However, what we are here to share with you, what I want to share with you is that this mind is an equipment of ours. Just like we have hands and legs and sense organs, we also have some subtle equipment, subtle organs. And mind is the antahakarna, or an inner organ. You can have bahaya karnas like hands and legs, which are outer organs. In the same way, we have antahakarna, which is the mind, which is also known as chitta or manas, which is our internal organ. So it's really an organ, and because it is subtle, because we cannot see it, a bunch of us get really spooked by it. And we have generations of people saying that the mind is a very hard one to control, right? And we don't really need anyone to give us suffering. We are complete in ourselves because our mind can generate suffering. The thing with powerful equipment is you need to know how to operate it. What do you think? You need to know how to operate it. But if we don't know how to operate it, if we don't know its buttons, and if we don't know what makes the equipment run in a healthy mode, balanced mode, or an agitated mode, or it just stops moving, then we have a problem. So we are very fortunate that the rishis, who were the rishis of Ayurveda, Yoga and Vedanta, have given us this basic template. And get ready for it. They said that the mind is nothing but 3 modes of awareness, or 3 modes of vibration, or 3 modes of consciousness. What are these 3 modes? So to explain these 3 modes, I would like to take the analogy of a lake or a pond. When our mind is working well, it is a very useful equipment for us. Ayurveda has said that health is not possible, physical health is also not possible without mental health. I'll give you an example. Ayurveda has so much described the importance of physical and mental balance and cooperation that they have said that if mental health is not there, you can even have physical diseases like skin diseases or diarrhea due to nothing but anger and fear. Take all the antibiotics you want, says Ayurveda, but you don't get rid of that deep-seated anger or fear, you can have diarrhea and you can fall really sick. So these are some details. Again, Ayurveda has said that when we eat the food, if we don't eat that food with the rapt attention of the mind, Charak has said that. If you don't eat the food where the mind, the food and the eating in the stomach, they are all connected, the chewing and the swallowing, if they are not connected with stillness and focus, our sages say that maybe that food will go in the wrong channels. Or maybe we will not be able to benefit from this food. That's not nice, huh? We eat all these vitamins totally distracted. We eat our health foods on the run, huh? But we never knew that mind, food and body have to be completely in a yoga, completely connected. So mind is playing a very big role for the body. And in fact, most diseases have been classified by our sages, our scientists, as manodehik vyadi, which means there is no disease of the body which doesn't have the element of mind in it. And because body is gross matter and mind is subtle matter, therefore subtle is stronger than the gross. So if we heal, unless and until we address the subtle aspect of our healing, the body healing, we are just moving things around, but we don't really get, resolution. So would you like to hear about resolution? Okay. So now we come to our lake analogy and the 3 states of consciousness. To be healthy, the sages said, you can know a mind is healthy when you are beginning to feel within you a very big clarity of life purpose. You have a clarity about your life purpose. You may not have clarity as to which job you need necessarily. You understand the difference between what job I should do and what's my life purpose. So there is a clarity of life purpose. And there is some connection with an inner reservoir of peace or even joy or even humor when life is going this way and that way. So there is a connection, like this mind, this healthy mind is a conduit to the spiritual joy, the spiritual peace, and the spiritual creativity and the spiritual wisdom that dwells in the self, which is not the mind, which is more powerful, which is your truth, which is your essence, which in Vedanta and Ayurveda is known as Atma, which in other traditions are known as soul or spirit, right? Or source or consciousness. But mind becomes a conduit for that. So there is clarity of life purpose. There is a connection to the inner reservoirs of some positive goodies, in simple words. And thirdly, and importantly, this mind is constantly giving you an experience, a connection with the divine. No matter what religion you are of. Even if you have been born in an atheist family, you will look at the sunrise and you will experience the divine. You follow? So connection to the divinity, connection to the inner rose, inner resources, and clarity of life purpose. The clarity of life purpose clarifies many things for us. Our values, our friends, our next steps, what we will adhere to, what we will not adhere to, where we will compromise, where we will walk alone, what we will agree to, what we will say sorry, thank you, namaste, and leave. It is due to the lack of life purpose that we are going round and round in circle, because we do not know what is life, what is purpose. We do not. Now let us imagine a lake. There the wind is blowing a lot. If the mind is a lake, then the state of consciousness where the wind is blowing a lot, so the lake water is hurling from this end to that end and round and round. So this is the state of consciousness where there is a lot of movement to perhaps pander to some conceived version of life purpose, but there is merely movement, no arrival. There is agitation, there is turbulence, there is constant seeking, there is a lot of action, and therefore there is depletion, there is burnout, there is overwhelm, and there is ultimately no answer. So here the lake is moving around too much. And this state of the mind, it dwells in each one of us, and it is called Rajas. Can you say it? Rajas. This is the Rajas state of mind, and none of us here can say, oh, they're not talking about me. If you become my student, you will realize that actually in every thought there is a Rajas. Okay? Every thought. There are 3 pieces. The 3 states of consciousness are in everything. They come together. It just, your mind is that by which it is dominated. The second one is, imagine this lake. It has stopped moving at all So slowly there is a lot of silt and soil and dead fishes and other things depositing on the side. It is becoming like a dead pond that is slowly just closing in on itself. Can you imagine that? And the water is no longer blue. The water is muddy and brown. There is some smell also because there is not much movement now. There is no chi, no prana here. And this pond is now can be described by qualities such as stagnation, such as inertia, such as dullness, such as blocked. Chi is blocked. When our mind becomes like this pond, then we too become disconnected from life-enhancing activities, from people, from ideas, and we start closing in on ourselves. The mind is no longer able to even be in check with reality because it's only dealing with its own load or darkness or the ability to stand still. Anybody been there, or am I just making it up? This is called tamas. Finally, imagine a lake that is perfect and blue. It is expansive. Just its mere presence has gifted the entire countryside with greenery and beauty and fruits and flowers, and birds come in millions. Imagine this lake dazzling the sunlight. Imagine this lake having, when you look through it, it is moving, yet it is so clean and still that you can see your own face. When our mind becomes that still and that blue and that transparent and that clean, then we can see our own soul. We can see our higher self. We can see something that we could not see, not with these ordinary eyes, because our self cannot be seen with ordinary eyes, but with the five senses. We see the world, but those five senses, their boss is the mind. So with that mind, everything is turned inwards. It can cognize its own master, the self. We know ourselves. The majority of mental sicknesses, we don't know ourselves. I love you, I love you, I love you. Then we realize actually we hated that person. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. Go away. We realize, no, wait a minute, I love you. I don't like, I don't like, I don't like. No, I want. Why do we do all this? Push, pull, hate, love, reject, plead. Why? Start something, drop it. Why? Because we don't know ourselves. So if we come from the spiritual realm into the psychological realm of Ayurveda, then Ayurveda says a still mind, which is known as sattva. This state is known as sattva. This sattva state of the mind, where your mind has become still, in this state you will be able to actually now begin leading your life. In the previous, where you were negating things, which is known as tamas. Can you say tamas? Tamas. It's hard to even exist. It's hard to go from day to day. And in rajas, you lose touch with reality because you are running and running and running. And even if you're asleep, your thoughts are running. So there is no break. But it is really in sattva. The sattva state of consciousness is when, for example, you've lost your keys, okay, your car keys. Now let's look at an example. One example of the car keys is you go crazy, you go ballistic. You try to look for it in the original place and then you throw things on the carpet, you yell at people, you run around, you run at 2 o'clock to a store to develop something, but you knew that at 2 o'clock that nobody would be there to develop your copy. So you're just running around and then finally you collapse. The other is tamas. You just start crying. Why do I do this to myself? I'm such a loser. I should not have been born. I can't even keep my car keys together. Nobody loves me. This is why. And you just go into one place. So the car key was just on the next coffee side table in the drawer, but you didn't look because you were so unhappy with yourself and you decided it's not even worth looking, right? So car keys won't show up. You actually have to become quiet. You have to say, can't find my car key. And then in that stillness, in that quietness, the memory will come. I had walked here, then I did that. I didn't go to my routine bedside table. I went to the coffee table and in that drawer I put it. You understand? Before any solution, have you noticed that you actually have to become still and quiet? I'm talking about the real solutions. I'm not talking about the solutions that we churn up in the Raja state. And I'm not talking about solutions that we churn up or we don't churn up and get stagnant in the tamas state. I'm talking about whenever there was a real, actual, positive, auspicious, forward movement in your life, you had somewhere consciously or unconsciously surrender to the moment and become one with your inner stillness. How many hands accept this logic and reasoning? Almost everyone. So what Ayurveda was teaching was nothing so remote that you have to study, philosophy for 10 years to really understand it. Ayurveda was always studied on actual people, not on rats, not on animals, and they were not postulates which were arithmetically driven and deduced. You see, these were on real people. So Rajas, Tamas and Sattva are three states and they are in every thought. They have a physiological function too. For example, when we have to fall asleep, we need some amount of tamas. Do you agree? Otherwise, we will become manic and that will be too much rajas. Similarly, when we want to wake up and talk and move like I am talking to you, I need some rajas. Do you agree? But we need this tamas and rajas to only be wheels, not the driver. Who is the driver? Can you tell me? Sattva. When rajas becomes the driver, then we have a problem. Then we have conditions like anxiety, hyperthinking, mania, paranoia, and such kinds of, obsessive compulsive thoughts, panic attacks. And we do mentally, we have so many thoughts, so many images, so many ideas that we even have a disconnect from reality. Atattva banivesha. We just separate. Our reality becomes these millions of vibrating, oscillating, turbulent, agitated pieces, and we experience ourselves to be that because the mind is fused with the world and what we see we are that. Do you agree? So there are foods that increase rajas. There are behaviors and thoughts that increase rajas, and Ayurveda simply says avoid them. Like marijuana. Mental Health 101. Alcohol. Caffeine. Foods that are very, very spicy. That stimulate you. That seem to wake you up. Have you seen that? You eat just a few chips and then you want more. And then you want more. Especially the barbecue ones. Then you get up and open a bottle of something that you were not trying to open. Right? Then you make a phone call that you shouldn't have made. Then you take a car trip that you will live to regret. And then you come back home, and from rajas what happens? You collapse into tamas. I'm an addict, I repeat patterns, I am miserable, I am sad, I am scared, I am fearful. And mental ill health is this oscillation from rajas behavior to tamas behavior. Then after a while in tamas, people stay there and then they start coming out and it becomes feels healthy for a while and then it gets caught up in another rajas cycle. Are we talking? Shall I continue?
Yes.
But fortunately, Ayurveda sages say, don't worry, human being. God dwells in you as sattva. When your consciousness in sattva mode, you are perfectly balanced. And it is not a super state of consciousness. It is the healthy state of consciousness. How is that? So I'm going to read to you from my own writing, because I like my writing. It's from a tutorial that I'm writing. And I wrote here that finally there is the quality called sattva. Sattva is like a clean, still pond into which you can see your reflection. When this quality permeates the mind, we have clarity, inner peace and stillness. This is the starting point for correcting imbalances. In this place, we tap into our inner reservoir of healing, joy, peace, and inner knowingness. To cultivate sattva in the mind is the highest goal of Ayurvedic psychology, as well as a very important facet of yoga and Vedanta. In yoga and Vedanta, we even go beyond sattva. So we are not going there. Here in the Sangha, I just wanted to tell you that we can actually cultivate sattva. Are you interested? If we eat sattva, if we meet sattva, as in satsangas, where there is no one gossiping, no one judging, no one color, creed, religion is being, put down, where everyone is special, where oneness is being celebrated, this is a good company. So when we feed ourselves sattva, as in certain foods we will eat today, when we meet sattvic people, and then above all, when we think certain sattvic things, and then when we live a sattvic lifestyle, gradually, the sattva consciousness takes over. And then, even if life throws us curveballs, and our old reaction was to always behave in a rajas manner and get upset, angry, reactive, or our normal default temperament is to take it in a tamas way and get more depressed, more broken, more inward, more withdrawn, more sullen. Instead, we might respond in a sattvic way and look at it as an opportunity for learning, for growth, and actually find that we are quite composed. Sattvic people, in the middle of things breaking, either because someone else has broken it or they have demolished it, you will find them laughing, smiling, and composed. We are not saying that if there is a death in the family, they won't cry. We are not talking about abnormal people, right? That would be a concern if somebody doesn't cry if there's been a loss in the family. That would be very strange if somebody was pinched and they said, no, I have sattva, I don't feel the pain. We're not creating artificial mental zombies. I'm just saying that when people have grief, their grief will be with wisdom. When people have pain, their pain will be accompanied with wisdom. When they have losses, as all human beings do, due to karma, none is free from it, then they will have endurance to endure those losses due to the sattva vibration within them. And they will only endure the loss that was meant to come to them. They will not further engender losses and sabotage themselves and hurt other people and create a cycle of more and more losses. Do you understand? Because the grief, the loss, the difficulty would be arrested because of the way it is being perceived and the way it is being not reacted but acted upon by the healthy one who has sattva. And we are all enjoined upon, we are all invited by the Ayurveda sages to cultivate sattva. Some of the ways to cultivate sattva, I will go over them. Of course, there is a workshop coming up on 26th, all-day workshop that you can take, which is on Ayurveda. But in my short time, somebody is a timekeeper here, I would like to continue going forward. When you eat fresh foods, freshly cooked food, so you don't even eat the morning food at night, but you just, if you don't have time, you just heat some milk, But when you eat fresh cooked food, when that food is not over spiced, there are some spices, Indians and Ayurveda food use spices, but they are not over spiced where they are burning you. You do not take stimulants in the food, but instead you take foods like, sweet lassi, sweet buttermilk, milk, clarified butter like ghee, some fresh nuts like almonds and sunflower seeds and other things which are just fresh, not like 6-month-old, but really fresh, okay? Fresh dates, fresh sweet fruits, fresh grains. These are the foods when they are freshly cooked and then eaten quietly with prayer. Because I just told you that Charak says that if our mind is not with the food, it will go in the wrong channel or we may not benefit from its nutritive value. When it is eaten quietly or perhaps even shared generously. So we may meet in company, we may even give to some poor or donate, but at the same time we will eat very quietly with a prayer. Our students offer a prayer here every time. And you may say some prayer from your tradition or learn it when you are here. We have a special prayer where research has been done to that Vedic prayer, that when the prayer was done, all the qualities of the food seem to improve just by that prayer. And that is food, sattvic. Now that same food you keep overnight. You keep overnight. Or you keep in the refrigerator, or you say, what wonderful fresh sattvic fruit from Vedika, let me refrigerate it. And 2 months later you pull it out, it looks good, but now it has become like the stale, stagnant pond. It is tamas. That same food. So when we eat stale food, so think about the foods that we are eating from cans. Think about the foods that we are eating from the freezer section. Think about the foods that we are eating just by being lazy, processed foods, old foods. Just take up my challenge for 1 month and eat every meal fresh and see how your mind feels. See how your mind feels. Because food and mind are connected. Ahara shuddha, manah shuddha, sattva shuddha. Food and sattva mind are fully connected. I don't want to go into the details of that, but your food, the gross food you are eating becomes body, and after that the subtle aspect of it becomes the mind. So you are what you eat. What do you eat? Do you eat freshly made cream of wheat with organic milk cooked, saffron added with some almonds simmering in them, and you're looking at them and you're offering prayers and you say, oh my God, God became food for me to continue to be and dwell like a God, and you eat that slowly and silently with the first rays of sun falling upon you, and you've already bathed and cleaned and your kitchen is clean, fresh flowers from your window, and you eat that food slowly. That is all converting 100% into sattva. Anybody need Paxil, Prozac? But you take that same food, like I said, and keep it stale and make it old, it won't work. That is why people in the Ayurvedic tradition even like to keep a cow and milk her morning and evening. And they boil the milk each time, the raw milk each time. Because every time Agni or fire is added to it to make motion in it, not let it be stagnant and dull. So none of that cold milk, etc. Milk especially is considered sattvic. Our ghee here that we make at Vedika, we not only make the ghee from organic butter, but then we chant throughout. So these chants infuse sattva in them. Now imagine taking food and then adding extra spices, extra, condiments, extra things that stimulate you, titillate you, make you very excited, make you feel very sexual, make you feel very, feeling like argumenting. Occasionally it's okay. There are times for it when you're out on your honeymoon. But on your day-to-day life, in your day-to-day, when you want your full capacities with you, then getting addicted to over spicy food is not a good idea. And there are some Indians sitting here. There might be some people from maybe, There are parts of America also that eat very, spicy food. And, what is that red sauce? Tabasco sauce and other things,
Barbecue.
So barbecue sauce. So then they say, well, that's how I grew up. Well, then that's okay. That's all right. That's where you begin. But Ayurveda is for people who want to plant new seeds. And so you stop eating just because your countrymen eat like that. Just because everybody eats like that. You eat simple, quieter, calming foods and you will feel better. And stimulants like wine and alcohol, they are not just something that happens in the West, it happens in every culture. Every culture has developed its own stimulants and its own, quality elixirs, but there is a time for it. But if you want to calm your mind, if you want a healthy mind, then you need to reduce them and just stay on maybe pure, simple, fresh water, not even bottled water, because bottled water has been sitting around for a long time. So food is one. Mantras I have mentioned. Now I want to talk about herbs. How much can I teach in 45 minutes? But do you feel you're getting some insights into yourself? Yes or no? 45 minutes can give you hope. This science, every drop of it is life-changing. That is why some of us here, me, my students, my team members, my colleagues, we are dedicated to spreading this knowledge. It has changed our lives. We are not sitting in the clouds. We are regular people dealing with the everyday inflictions of life and people and yet feeling good. The third I want to tell you is we have some herbs. Okay, so there is an herb that, do we have that, Hemaji? Brahmi. There is an herb that grows very commonly here and it is called Brahmi. So you can grow this herb in your garden in a pot. Bacopa monnieri. Bacopa monnieri. This herb has been known to have so much influence, so much benefit on your mind that it actually starts changing the way you think. It is nothing but, that herb is nothing but pure sattva. And so we will show you that herb, it's just some leaves, and every morning you can just, pound them and just squeeze a few drops of juice from these leaves, these Brahmi. Thank you. This is it. We'll pass them out and just pluck out the leaves, crush them in a potar and mestle, and just squeeze a few drops and then just put 1 or 2 drops in your nose, and there's a nasal inhalation all the way pathway to the brain, and the brain is an area rich in nerves and it will get supplied everywhere. Similarly, you can even take a teaspoon of it and just drink it. Okay? Thirdly, we have made an oil with this. Have our students made oil with this? This and yashti, another herb that is deeply useful for the mind that you can just put in the nose. This grows here from gardens that you can buy. Himaji, can you tell us a little bit about growing this? Is it a fussy plant or it just grows on its own? Himaji is the president of our organization and she loves growing these herbs and creating these products with the best things possible. Can you tell them? We'll pass it out, Mahi.
It's actually a very kind and forgiving plant to grow. It loves lots of water. I live on the other side of the hills where it's quite hot, but I grow it underneath a tree, so it likes sort of almost a humid environment. So we water it at least once, maybe twice a day, and just keep it a little, like it gets morning sun, but not afternoon sun, and then it just grows itself. It's quite easy, and especially like this time of year, the plants are coming through quite quickly. It's quite water sensitive. It's even in half an hour of driving here, it's wilted a little bit.
This Brahmi you have also used personally for yourself, right?
Yes.
So apart from giving some wonderful and steadfast leadership to Vedika Global, what other benefits you have seen on your mind? Better sleep maybe? What have you noticed?
One of the sort of startling experiences, I would say, for me was last year Mahi and I ground up a lot of brahmi at the end of the year and cooked it into ghee. And it's a very slow process, so I had it sitting on the stove in my kitchen, just simmering really for a couple of days as the water evaporated. And the atmosphere in my kitchen, I can just close my eyes and remember just inhaling the fragrance of this all day long. I felt that my whole mind became so calm, so clear. I actually did some creative writing, and then somebody asked me to write something about something that I had been part of somewhere between, I will say 35 years ago. And you know, this had been cooking in the background, and I sat down to write, and I thought, what do I remember? And it started coming back to me, like as soon as one image came. And I thought, even one of my friends read it, and she said, how did you remember all of that? And I said, I think it was the blessing of the Brahmi, that it's made my mind calm, which then sort of cleared the way for, you know, memories, and it was something very uplifting. It wasn't, you know, digging up the past. It was re-celebrating beautiful things that I hadn't thought about in years. And so I think that was one of the blessings of the Brahmi that has really stayed with me. And so now, even when I use the nasya, as soon as I inhale, because this is made of ghee, Brahmi, and a little bit of yashti, or licorice root, the moment I smell that, especially the Brahmi in the ghee, it brings back that experience of it cooking in the kitchen, and that calmness and clarity and creativity that came over me. So
Thank you, Hema.
so I'm quite in love with this, as you've picked up
And
already.
you are dressed in a Brahmi sari, so it's beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, and so some of you were smelling it. You will not get the smell unless you cook it, but it works more from its, you know, juice, or when it's cooked in ghee. So we put it internally, or we drink it. So these are some herbs which have no side effect. They improve your memory, they improve your concentration, they improve your sleep, they reduce your anxiety. And when you are just taking this oil, for example, and putting 2 drops in your nose before you shower, or a little bit after your shower, on an ongoing basis, you notice that your reaction to life situations is different. Now what did we do? We merely kept introducing the sattva vibration in your consciousness. And here you've changed your food too. And finally, there is this whole field called ethics, values, sadavritta, Acharya Shunya, behavioral tonic, which I teach for actually 1 to 6 years in the school. So I'm going to finish that in 1 minute for you here. I will tell you something. If you have to walk away with one thing from this Sangha, then I will tell you which is the biggest one that the Rishis said. Start speaking your truth. Start speaking truth. Don't even say white lies. Learn how to say the truth sweetly, or remain silent and pray for the time when you can speak it, but speak truth. Don't be pretentious. Don't try to fool anyone. Mental health. Satyavadina ma krodham. Then krodha, anger. That is the second big one. My students were surprised, new students, first year students. I said, do you know, anger in any condition is not okay. They said, no, but it is justified. Some Hindu students said, Shiva was angry, this was angry, Kali is angry. I said, look, first be Shiva Kali, then we will talk. Anger makes sense, because even as a youngster, I used to wonder, there must be something called righteous anger. I said, let's replace the righteous anger with righteous action, righteous communication, righteous negotiation, righteous dialogue, righteous turnaround, righteous change of plans. But there is nothing called righteous anger. Anger means rajas has entered. Anger means you've already gone away from the place of balance. Similarly, grief. Grief is considered as a mental aberration. What grief? I have experienced grief, you have experienced grief, you will question. So Ayurveda says no. So Ayurveda is very wise. Ayurveda says if tears come up, don't stop them. Ayurveda says if real grief wells up, let it go. But grief as in holding it. What is it? Rajas, tamas or sattva? Tamas. Do not hold on to it. With knowledge, understand that everybody gets some grief. It's like salt and pepper. Everybody gets some grief. Everybody gets some things to be angry about. Everybody gets some desires to lie. But so it begins like that. Do not lie. If you want mental health, because you may have immediate problem right now, but if you start speaking the truth, then long term you will have no anxiety. Do not be angry. Similarly, they say that, so there is a lot of details on what is acceptable, what is unacceptable. So then for speech, they say, do not speak harsh words. My students might question, I might question at one time, why can't I speak harsh words? Then I realized, I can take harsh actions. I can take actions that serve the truth, but I don't have to speak harsh words. I don't have to call names. I don't have to say, those things. Because that just shows that there is rajas and tamas. You have no control. So mental health, we are given some rules. And I will be teaching them at the workshop if you're welcome to come. Otherwise, at least, do a search on mental health and Ayurveda. Or listen to this video again. And if you listen to our YouTube, then my lectures on yoga health, Vedanta, mind health are there. So I don't feel like I'm leaving you with a drop. I'm leaving you with an explosive drop that can make you think and rethink some of our favorite positions where we hold on to our grief and create a story about it, where we hold on to our anger and say, well, this one is righteous. But it says that, how would sattva vibration do this? If there is anger, it means something needs to be looked at. And what can I do? Maybe it means I need to change my whole life, my paradigm, my partners, my country. But it need not be anger. Similarly, grief. What attachment have I not let go? Oh, somebody died 20 years ago, or I lost someone. We can understand. But now begin to use the wisdom of the caterpillar has lost its father and mother. The kitten has lost the father and mother. The rose has lost its father and mother. The horse has lost. Who will not lose the father and mother? Who will not lose a partner or two? It's a human situation. So there is also wisdom around mental health. We are taught to be a little hardier, to have a thicker skin with philosophy, and to understand and flow with life. So I am noticing that my time is over. But time is never over. But the time to speak is over. And the time to contemplate has begun. I hope this was helpful. Thank you.